concentrate together? Okay. All right. Just okay, so Geshe is indisposed, so and also he asked us to just read the end of the book, Death, Intermediate State, and Rebirth. So let's start by saying some prayers in the Gold Prayer Book, starting with the page on page 35, the Seven Limb Prayer. Gosum gupe gone chatzelo ngesham yitu chetim malubu tomenes aditun tam sheshak Gepa gewanam la sheirang korwa matom badule june dola cheki kolo korwa dang da shengen na jan chu chen ngo. And then the short mandala offering right below that. Saji perki shu shing metong tamri rabli shi ni degen padi sangye shingdu mi te uwa ido kunam dag shing la chirpar shok idam guru ratamandala kam niryatayami. And then on page 34, the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Now, did you want to lead the reading part?
Pardon me?
Did you want to lead the reading part?
I will if you want me to.
I don't care.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So what we're going to do is finish this book as Geshe requested us to do last Wednesday. So we're going to be reading from the text, Death, Intermediate State, and Rebirth in Tibetan Buddhism, starting on page 64. In the middle of the page, Formation of the Channels, Winds, and Drops.
Initially, 5 channels of the heart form simultaneously, the central, right, and left channels, as well as the triple circle of the east and the desirous one of the south. The channel wheel at the heart is composed of the central, right, and left channels, around which are 8 petals or spokes, 4 at the cardinal directions and 4 at the intermediate directions. After that, 3 channels form simultaneously: the free of knots channel that abides with the central channel, the household one of the west, and the fiery one of the north. These are called the 8 channels that initially form at the heart. Then the 4 channels of the cardinal directions split into 2 each, these being the 4 channel petals of the intermediate directions. The continuations of the 8 channel petals of the heart split into 3 each, forming the 24 channels of the 24 places. Each of the 24 splits into 3, making 72. Each of these splits into 1,000, forming the 72,000 channels in the body. There are 5 greater channel wheels. The wheel of great bliss at the top of the head, which has 32 channel petals. The wheel of enjoyment at the throat, which has 16 channel petals. The wheel of phenomena at the heart, which has 8 channel petals. The wheel of emanation at the navel, which has 64 channel petals. The wheel of sustaining bliss in the secret region, which has 32 channel petals. 3 other channel wheels are also frequently mentioned. The wheel of wind between the brows, which has 16 channel petals. The wheel of fire between the neck and heart, which has 3 channel petals. The wheel in the middle of the jewel, which has 16 channel petals. With respect to the formation of the winds, during the first month after connecting to the new life in the womb, coarse life-bearing winds are produced from the subtle life-bearing wind. At that time, the physical shape of the sentient being is like that of a fish. In the second month, the downward voiding wind is produced from the life-bearing wind. At that time, the body has 5 protuberances, like a turtle. In the third month, the fire-dwelling wind is produced from the downward voiding wind. At that time, the upper body is slightly bent and thus has the form of a wild boar. In the fourth month, the upward moving wind is produced from the fire-dwelling wind. At that time, the upper body is slightly broad and thus has the form of a lion. In the 5th month, the pervasive wind is produced from the upward moving wind. At that time, the body is said to have the shape of a dwarf. The life-bearing wind mainly dwells in the middle of the channel wheel at the heart. It has the function of causing the movement of the winds in and out of the sense faculties, and the function of maintaining life. The coarser form of it causes the movement of the breath through the nose. The downward voiding wind mainly dwells in the middle of the channel wheel at the secret region. It has the function of causing defecation, urination, menstruation, and so forth. The fire-dwelling wind mainly dwells in the middle of the channel wheel at the navel. It has the function of causing digestion, separating the refined and unrefined portions of nutriment, and igniting the inner fire. The upward moving wind mainly dwells in the middle of the channel wheel at the throat. It has the function of causing the tasting of food, talking, and so forth. The pervasive wind mainly abides in the joints. It has the function of causing movement, desisting from movement, and so forth. In the 6th month, the wind that moves through the door of the eyes, called moving, and the element earth are produced. In the 6th to the 10th months, the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, wind, and the space constituent are produced, in the sense that their capacities reach fulfillment. In the 7th month, the wind that moves through the door of the ears, called intensely moving, and the element water are produced. In the 8th month, the wind that moves through the door of the nose, called thoroughly moving, and the element fire are produced. In the 9th month, the wind that moves through the door of the tongue, called strongly moving, and the element wind are produced. In the 10th month, the wind that moves through the door of the body, called definitely moving, and the element of the space constituent are produced. At that time, the empty places in the body arise. The 5 secondary winds are mainly parts or states of the life-bearing wind. They serve as aids in the apprehension of objects by the 5 sense consciousnesses. It is said that although the 10 winds form in the womb, inhalation or exhalation from the nose does not occur until immediately after birth. With respect to how the drops are formed, the mass, which is a composite of the essences of the white and red constituents, as well as the very subtle wind in mind, which is the size of a large white mustard seed, and which abides inside a slight empty place in the central channel at the heart, is called the indestructible drop. From the white drop, one part goes up inside the channel wheel at the crown of the head and remains there. It is called the letter Ham. It directly and indirectly increases the white drops in other parts of the body. From the red drop at the heart, one part goes down inside the channel wheel at the navel and abides there. It is called the fierce one. It directly and indirectly increases the red constituent in other parts of the body. Although a portion of each drop dwells in each channel wheel, the one at the top of the head is the main source of increasing the white constituent, whereas the channel wheel at the navel is the main source of increasing the red constituent. The channel wheel at the heart is a source of equally increasing the white and red constituents. Furthermore, it is said that whenever the white and red constituents are needed, they are produced, and thus are not like water poured in a vessel. This period from connecting to the new life in the place of conception through to and including assuming a coarse body is called the basic emanation body. These factors from the intermediate beings connecting to the new life in the womb through to and including taking birth are similar in aspect to bringing birth within the path as an emanation body in the practice of the stage of generation. They are also similar in aspect to the impure and pure illusory bodies of the stage of completion, during which either a coarse emanation body is assumed or one abides in the old physical aggregates, becoming an object of the ordinary eye. They are also the basis of purification by these bringings to the path. Chapter on stopping death. There is no difference in the bases being purified by means of the stages of generation and completion. In the stage of generation, one takes basic death, intermediate state, and birth as the basis of purification. As agents of purification, one cultivates the 3 bringings to the path, as well as their branches. This means that in accordance with the aspects of the stages of death, intermediate state, and birth, one brings death to the path as the truth body, the intermediate state to the path as an enjoyment body, and birth to the path as an emanation body. In the process of deity yoga, a yogi initially meditates on emptiness, following the pattern of the 8 signs of death, thereby bringing death to the path as Buddha's truth body. The yogi rises from this non-dual realization of emptiness in the form of a seed syllable or hand symbol, the wisdom consciousness itself serving as the basis of emanation. This is how the intermediate state is brought to the path as an enjoyment body. The subsequent appearance of the wisdom consciousness in the form of a deity's body is the bringing of birth to the path as an emanation body. Emptiness and deity yogas patterned on the process of death, intermediate state, and birth occur only in highest yoga mantra, not in the 3 lower tantras, action, performance, and yoga. Thereby, indirectly, the three, ordinary death, intermediate state, and birth, are purified, and one actualizes the three bodies that accord in aspect with them. The stage of completion is the actual purifier of basic death, intermediate state, and birth, through a path that accords in aspect with them. The stage of completion is divided into 6 stages: isolation of body, isolation of speech, isolation of mind, illusory body, clear light, union. The isolation of body is a yoga in which one's aggregates, constituents, sources, and so forth are isolated from ordinary appearance and conception, through being sealed with or given the mark of the bliss and emptiness of the stage of completion. They are thereby caused to appear as the sport of a deity. The isolation of speech is a yoga in which the very subtle wind, that is the root of speech, is isolated from the ordinary movement of wind, whereby wind and mantra are joined indifferentiably. The isolation of mind is a yoga in which the mind, that is the root of psychic existence and of nirvana, is isolated from conceptuality, as well as the wind that serves as the latter's mount. This mind is caused to appear as an entity of undifferentiable bliss and emptiness. Through these 3 yogas, the 4 empties are induced, although only at the end of isolation of mind, the 3rd stage, do they appear in complete form. Those that accord in aspect with the clear light of death are the appearance, increase, near attainment, and clear light in isolation of body, isolation of speech, isolation of mind, illusory body, and union of a learner. A non-learner's union of clear light and pure illusory body is Buddhahood itself. Those prior to it are of learner bodhisattvas. Those that accord in aspect with the intermediate state are the impure illusory body of the 3rd stage, and the pure illusory body of a learner's union. Those that accord in aspect with birth are the abiding of the impure and pure illusory bodies in the old aggregates, and their becoming objects of ordinary sight. With respect to how the paths of the stage of completion directly purify birth, death, and the intermediate state, the very subtle mind, which is part of the undifferentiable entity of the very subtle wind and mind, maintains a continuum of similar type from one to another, becoming the clear light of ordinary death. A yogi of the stage of completion stops this through the power of meditative stabilization and transforms it into the metaphoric clear light and the actual clear light. This is done with a path that accords in aspect with death. The yogi also transforms death into the clear light of the fruit, the truth body. This is how death is purified. With respect to the mode of purifying the intermediate state, the very subtle wind of that undifferentiable entity maintains a continuum of similar type from one to the other, and acting as the mount of the ordinary clear light of death, rises as a body of an intermediate being. A yogi of the stage of completion stops this through the power of meditative stabilization and transforms it into the impure and pure illusory bodies of a learner and of a non-learner that accord in aspect with the intermediate state. This is how the intermediate state is purified. With respect to the mode of purifying birth, when such an illusory body is achieved, the intermediate state is ceased forever, and through the power of that, rebirth in a womb through contaminated actions and afflictions is stopped. In place of this, an illusory body enters the old physical aggregates in a manner similar to an intermediate being's taking birth in a mother's womb, whereupon it makes the exertion of explaining doctrine and achieving the higher paths. This is how birth is purified. Thus, the root of actually stopping birth, death, and intermediate state is just the metaphoric clear light upon the completion of isolation of mind. The metaphoric clear light serves as the direct cause of an illusory body, and through the power of its actually stopping death, the intermediate state as well as birth stop of their own accord. When an illusory body is achieved from such a metaphoric clear light, the intermediate state is stopped forever, because the very subtle wind that would rise as a body of an intermediate being has become an illusory body. Once the intermediate state is totally stopped, there is no assumption of birth by the power of contaminated actions and afflictions. Thus, whoever attains an illusory body necessarily becomes fully enlightened in that same lifetime. Fearing that citation of the sources for what has been explained above would make the text too long, I have not given them. They can be known from the good explanations of the foremost Tsongkhapa, the father, and his spiritual sons, as well as the excellent scholars and adepts who follow them. Although I have written this according to the speech of the second conqueror, the father, his sons, and scholars following, I make confessions to the lamas, gods, and scholars for whatsoever groups of errors that stray from the thought of the excellent. Through the virtue illustrated by this, may all migrators, myself and others, quickly complete the good path, transforming impure birth, death, and the between into the three bodies through the yoga of the two stages of the profound path. This was collected from the speech of the excellent by the lazy young Jen Gawe Lodro and was written down as a reminder for himself.
Okay, now I'd like to read the meditation on the 8 dissolutions of the 25 course phenomena. Dissolution 1. As the external sign of the dissolution of the form aggregate, my limbs become smaller and my body becomes weak and powerless. The basic mirror-like wisdom is an ordinary consciousness in which many objects appear simultaneously and clearly. As the external sign of the dissolution of the basic mirror-like wisdom, my sight becomes unclear and dark. As an external sign of the dissolution of the earth element, my body becomes thin, my limbs loose, and I sense my body sinking under the earth. As an external sign of the dissolution of the eye faculty, I cannot open or close my eyes. As an external sign of the dissolution of the visible forms, my body luster diminishes and my strength is consumed. The internal sign of the dissolution of these 5 is the arising of a bluish appearance like a mirage, like water when the light of the sun strikes the desert in the summer. Dissolution 2. As the external sign of the dissolution of the feeling aggregate, I can no longer experience pleasure, pain, or neutral feelings related to my sense consciousness. The wisdom of equality is an ordinary consciousness that recalls pleasure, pain, and neutral feelings. As the external sign of the dissolution of the wisdom of equality, I no longer recall the pleasure, pain, and neutral feelings related to my mental consciousness. As an external sign of the dissolution of the water element, my saliva, sweat, urine, blood, and drops dry greatly. as an external sign of the dissolution of the ear faculty. I can no longer hear external or internal sounds. As an external sign of the dissolution of the sounds in my continuum, the sound inside my ears ceases. The internal sign of the dissolution of these 5 is the dawning of an appearance like blue puffs of smoke. Dissolution 3. As an external sign of the dissolution of the discrimination aggregate, I no longer recall the affairs of close persons. The basic wisdom analysis is an ordinary consciousness that recalls individual names, purposes, and so forth of close persons. As the external sign of the dissolution of the wisdom of analysis, I can no longer remember the names, even of my parents. As an external sign of the dissolution of the fire element, the warmth of my body diminishes, whereupon my capacity to digest food and drink is lost. As an external sign of the dissolution of the nose faculty, my inhalation is weak and my exhalation is strong and lengthy. As an external sign of the dissolution of odors, I cannot smell any fragrant or unfragrant odors. The internal sign of the dissolution of these 5 is the arising of an appearance like fireflies, like burning red sparks in puffs of smoke rising from a chimney, or like red sparks on the bottom of a pan. Dissolution 4. As the external sign of the dissolution of compositional factors, I cannot perform physical actions, such as moving about. The wisdom of achieving activities is a consciousness that recalls external worldly activities, purposes, etc. As the external sign of the dissolution of the wisdom of achieving activities, I no longer recall these. As an external sign of the dissolution of the wind element, the 10 winds shift from their own abodes to the heart, and my breath ceases. As an external sign of the dissolution of the tongue faculty and body, my tongue becomes thick, short, and its root turns blue. My body can no longer experience smoothness or roughness. As an external sign of the dissolution of taste and tactile senses or faculties, I can no longer experience tastes or feel roughness and smoothness. The internal sign of the dissolution of these 5 is the arising of an appearance like a burning butter lamp when it is about to go out. Dissolution 5. The factor dissolving are the 80 indicative conceptions and the wind that serves as their mount. The internal sign, the radiant white appearance, arises. It is like a night sky pervaded by moonlight in a clear autumn sky. The cause of this appearance, the white appearance, all the winds in the right and left channels above the heart enter the central channel at the top of the head. This loosens the knot of the channels at the top of the head, and the white drop comes down. When this white drop arrives at the top of the knot, at the right and left channels at the heart, then the radiant white appearance arises. It is empty because it is devoid of the 80 conceptions and the wind that serves as their mount. Disillusion 6. The factor dissolving is the mind of white appearance and the wind that serves as its mount. The internal sign, the red or orange increase, arises. It shines like an autumn sky, free of defilement and pervaded by sunlight. The cause of the red or orange increase appearance: all the winds in the right and left channels below the heart enter the central channel to the base of the spine or the sexual organ. This loosens the knot in the jewel and at the navel, and the red drop in the middle channel wheel at the navel comes up. When this red drop arrives below the knot at the right and left channels at the heart, then the red or orange increase arises. It is very empty, because it is devoid of the mind of white appearance and the wind that serves as their mount. Disillusion 7. The factor dissolving is the mind of red or orange increase and the wind that serves as its mount. The internal sign, the black near attainment, arises. It is a vacuous black appearance, like an autumn sky, free of defilement, with thick darkness at the beginning of night. The cause of the appearance: the upper and lower winds inside the central channel gather. This loosens the knot at the right and left channel at the heart, and the white drop descends and the red drop ascends. They enter into the middle of the white and red indestructible drops in the closed case in the center of the heart's central channel, and the black near attainment arises. It is called the Great Empty because it is devoid of the mind of the red or orange increase and the wind that serves as their mount. Disillusion 8. The factor dissolving is the mind of black near attainment and the wind that serves as its mount. The internal sign, an appearance of clear vacuity, dawns. It shines like a dawn sky in autumn, free of moonlight, sunlight, and darkness. The cause of this appearance: the white and red drops dissolve into the white and red indestructible drops at the heart, and all the winds inside the central channel dissolve into the very subtle life-bearing wind. Through this, the very subtle wind and mind manifest, and the clear light of death, or mother light, dawns. This is actual death. It is all empty, because it is devoid of the 80 conceptions, the white appearance, red increase, and black near attainment, and the winds that serve as their mounts. So that's the end of the meditation. Shall we say dedications now? Or, okay. Let's see. Don't turn to page, I think it's in the Go Prayer Book, 235. Read the general dedication prayers. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samantabhadra too realize things as they are, I too dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised to the best by the victorious one thus gone of the 3 times, so I might perform good works. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of perfect pure Losangdrapa to shine forever. Then go to 244 and 245 for the short, long light prayers. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrei Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And on the other side, the one who mastered his speech at a very young age, the one with great patience who received the name Awatare, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa and Bliss and Void, Lama ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. You uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjunak's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayers honoring the 3 jewels, savor of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. Then 7 green Tara mantras for Geshe and Geshe Sangpo's long, healthy, happy life, so that they will be free of obstacles, and so that all their Dharma wishes will be fulfilled. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Thank you.